Welcome back to another video podcast. Me, Dr. Carmela Maxell. I'm your host today. Welcome back to Rooted in Rising. Today, I have a phenomenal guest, and I'm so excited to have this conversation with him, Dr. Kevin Scott Sr. Today, we're going to be talking about the cost of compromise, moral injury, and the hidden wounds of people of color. And Dr. Scott, I am so honored that you're here with me today. So honored to have you in my presence and for you to speak about this with our audience. And let's get to it. So, Dr. Scott has an EDD from Liberty University, also a master's degree in criminal justice and law enforcement administration from North Carolina Central, um, and a Bachelor of Applied Science. And I see that magna cum laude in criminal justice. And then also has a leadership background and received some credentialing from Harvard from the School of Public Health. So we have a very decorated professional with us today. I am so supremely blessed to have you here. So,
Um,
today we're exploring a topic that many people experience, but few have a language for: the
yeah.
cost of compromise.
Mm,
Not the healthy compromises that help us work together and build relationships, but the compromises we make with ourselves.
yeah.
The moments when we silence our voice, suppress our truth, minimize our experiences, or abandon pieces of who we are in order to survive,
Mm,
succeed, or belong.
mhm,
For many people of color, these compromises are not occasional. They are often woven into daily life, workplace culture, educational systems, and professional advancement. Over time, these compromises can leave invisible wounds that are difficult to name, but impossible to ignore. So, Dr. Scott, once again, thank you for being here today. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
I would be first. I would be egregiously remiss if I didn't say that I am the one who is humbly flattered and honored to
Oh,
be in your presence, Dr.
thank
Maxwell,
you.
with the work
Thank you.
that you do, and in creating a conduit of sharing healing space,
Thank you.
which is so necessary when we talk about this topic. So I was excited when you called me. I've been in this space. It is truly uh, a testimony, if you would, based on a bifurcated pathway uh,
Mhm.
through lived experience and academic experience. So uh, I come from a background of an extended family, but from a product of a single mother
Mhm.
who gave birth to a set of twins. I have a twin sister,
Oh, wow.
who was 15 minutes older than me. So this is in the mid 60s.
Mhm.
And as you know, that ignominious stigma. But nonetheless, I come from a very blessed background. There was no, and I'm not saying this in any way
Mhm.
uh, to throw shade or denigrate. I was fortunate enough to where uh, my mother literally gave us the very best. I went to Catholic school, K through 12, literally all my life.
Yeah,
Uh,
we have a
my
lot of
sister, tra-
similarity there. Yeah,
yeah, my
yeah.
sister went. She left in the ninth grade and went to the renowned, should I say? So they think, Cass Tech High School in
Oh,
Detroit, Michigan.
yes,
Yeah,
okay, okay, you know what? Um, I know some people that went to Rennie. Okay, I hear the wo
yeah,
yep.
yes, indeed. Those two institutions go back and forth
Go back,
far as
yep.
that regarding their academic pedigree and prowess. So,
Oh, yes, yes.
and so I grew up, very athletic, playing sports, this and that, and then I made some poor choices,
Mhm,
uh, very young, and then I'll get into a conversation of not having that father figure
mhm.
around as well, and I will get into we'll delve deeper to that moral injury piece and those hidden wounds. We'll talk about that. But I've worked in spaces. Of course, as you can see, I belong to the greatest fraternity on the planet,
Hey.
Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
Okay,
I
okay,
Rude to the bros, and I'm
okay.
also I'm also a combat air veteran of the Marine Corps.
Thank you for your service.
Praise the God for it. Thank you. Uh, so a lot of trauma comes with it. And then I've made some personal decisions that I said that took me to places that I didn't want to go. Dr. Maxwell made me stay, unfortunately, longer than I wanted to.
Mhm.
However, in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, Viktor
Mm,
Frankl, who was
Frankel.
an existentialist theorist, I'm sure you're familiar with his work. He
Absolutely.
invented the theory logotherapy. And he says, he that has a why to live can withstand almost anyhow. And he was referring specifically to those individuals who went, who were Holocaust survivors. He himself being at the infamous Auschwitz
Mhm.
concentration camp. And he talked about how the best of them didn't come back. But that was one of his quotes, and he has several that resonated with me even through my most abject and darkest hours. And to that point, existentialist theorists
Mhm.
uh, promulgate, if you would, that even in our most darkest space,
Yeah.
that we can find a reason to carry on
Yes, we can
and
find meaning of the
and
experience.
to
Yes,
have meaning in all of
yes.
that. And so I work from that. I work from that vein. So that's just a little bit of background what I do. But I work with justice involved trauma, trauma involved, suicidal ideations,
Mhm.
veterans, just the traumatized aggregate groups that a lot of that are very challenging. A lot of individuals. Uh, I don't want to say eschew, but they do from that population because it is a uncomfortable space. It really
Yeah,
is, and
yeah.
you have to have uh, the temperament to deal
Yes,
with that.
yes. Um, just brilliantly put, and I'm a huge fan of Viktor Frankl. In fact,
Yeah,
when I teach about, different modes
yeah,
of, therapy and theory to
hmm
my own students, I love the idea
yeah.
of existentialism, and
Yes,
we can
indeed.
make meaning. We can find that light in the dark place. Sometimes we have to search a little bit more, and I think specifically as people of color, right, I believe in the idea of creating your own light. And,
Absolutely.
um, sort of figuring out what that means, for us, I think even now in this time, um, which seems maybe, on some surfaces to be progressive, but there are some
hmm
things that are sort of throwing us back into these historical, dark places, and we need to find that light again. We need to find that light.
Yes.
So let me
And it's
ask.
funny you mentioned that. I just want to pause briefly
Please, please, please.
because when you talk about finding that light again,
Mhm.
because you mentioned two words that I love, abandon and compromise.
Mhm.
We can become so disconnected
Mhm.
from that light that we don't even recognize it or even forget actually the illumination of it.
Right.
I've had to reinvent my life by God's grace and mercy. And then
Mhm.
when I thought was my light, wasn't my light.
Mhm.
So it is a very, to say it is a slippery slope is an understatement. I
Mhm.
think that you make a very, very great point.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna give you a quote that I think that you'll really love and put in your
Please.
toolkit later on when it comes. Say, well, I'll do it now. We talked about like I always tell individuals that I work with that you can never leave an old situation until you create a new one.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And
It's sort
it was so apropos for me. But go ahead. Yeah, it was, I
well,
mean, it was
it's like that idea of, yeah, you can't enter a new chapter unless you close, the
yeah,
last. You gotta close that book before you enter a new
absolutely,
one. And I think
absolutely.
that's where many people get stuck. We get stuck between the pages, stuck between, right, um, stuck between the folds.
hmm
And isn't that in many ways, isn't that the definition of insanity? Just doing the same thing, right? We expect this.
It is. It is. And I know for me, and again, because I'm very transparent, I'm gonna
Mm,
keep it so I keeps it 100.
keep it
That
100. Yeah.
I would rather deal with the minutia
Mhm.
over here
Right.
that I'm used to. And
Mhm.
it amazes me how I would have rather lived in the pain
Mhm.
that I was used to than take a chance on engaging in happiness that I've never seen
Ooh, oh,
because that is so unfamiliar to me.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even know what the hell that looks like.
I hate.
What?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'd rather stay right here in this right here because
yeah,
it's comfortable. I
yeah.
love the smell. I know
Yep,
what it feels like. I know how long it's gonna stay on me.
right.
All that.
I don't have to
All
do
that shit.
anything different. And
Nothing.
there's an episode that I made for some of my Apple subscribers talking about the cost of compromise and
Mhm.
how it's really it can get really uncomfortable. People don't want to feel uncomfortable.
Mm-mm.
And there is a risk in changing and progressing forward, right? There are
Absolutely.
parts of that skin that we have to shed in order to grow. And sometimes, you mentioned, I know what it smells like. I might like how it smells. You might not like how it smells.
Right.
You're not
Exactly.
sure if it smells better over there, right? So
Right, exactly.
well, there's so many things I think people will hold on to. Um, and I talk about the cost of holding on to things that no
Mm.
longer serve you.
Absolutely.
But I think in this process, it's really about identifying when something doesn't serve you anymore. And
And
that's
I
where
think that well, no, and I didn't want to, but that aha moment, that
mm,
coming to moment, that epiphany, if you would,
mhm,
can only take place when we feel we deserve better.
mm, mhm,
Because a part of this moral injury thing, or this compromise,
mhm,
is that I lowered
mhm.
my sense of dignity and value
Mm,
based on how others were seeing me and validating me.
yep, yep,
Because I read somewhere
mm,
that we have to renew our mind every day
yep.
and
That
that
costs
old things become new
mhm.
and that we have to put on a new creature in Christ. We have to put on new creatures. And I just was on my prayer call this morning and one of my frat brothers brought the faith face, having a faith list, not a
Mhm.
face list,
A
a faith
faceless. Yeah,
list.
yeah,
We have to continuously go get spiritual Botox, if you would, because
yeah.
all
Oh,
the
I like
rage.
that. I might track that one. Hold on.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Give me
Here's
just a little credit. Give me a little bit of credit for that. You know what I'm
oh,
saying? We
okay,
have
you
to
know what?
we
You primary author on that one. Imma go ahead go ahead and write that down right
so
here.
so
Woo!
I don't mind sharing. I don't mind, but
Yeah.
yeah, it is so true. Um, even for me, it was until I understood that there is absolutely no way possible humanly of my own volition of
Mhm,
anything that I could have ever done to be sitting right here with you today, having this conversation. It was only because I know that God is real in my life. Only because I know
amen.
from the hell in the belly of the beast
Mhm.
that he brought me from.
Yes,
Because I know that he is the potter and I'm the clay. And trust
yes.
me, I was a fractured vessel the first time that
Ugh,
became marred in his hand.
mhm,
And
mm,
for whatever reason, he felt to make the lump of clay again into another vessel that was good for him. And so
mhm,
when we talk about this, when you asked me to invited me, should I say,
mhm.
I was so just humbled because people struggle. I'm
Yes.
talking about ordinary people. Forget these damn degrees and all these letters and all that I'm associated with because
Right.
before they called me doctor,
Mhm.
they called me a whole bunch of other stuff
Yep.
that
Yep.
was applicable. Trust me.
Relatable. Relatable. Mhm.
There was a time when my mother fed me off the porch
Mhm.
and made me sleep in the basement if she let me in the house.
Mm, mm,
So I heard a lot of people. I made bad decisions. I was helpless, homeless, addicted, incarcerated, suicidal, and homicidal. So I'm trying to tell you, when we talk about this moral injury journey,
mhm.
although it does find its nascence in the military culture and in military space, it is applicable
Across spaces.
every facet of our lives in the work that we do.
Across spaces. I definitely think about as you know, we discussed prior to this, um, how it shows up, and being self-serving as a healthcare
Mhm.
professional, how
Mhm.
this shows up, especially in healthcare settings, educational settings, a lot
Yeah.
of the circles that you and I are both in, um, and the toll that it takes
Mhm.
on how we do our jobs, how we feel about ourselves and our careers, how we show up in service to others. And before we dive into that, we've talked about the term moral injury, and I want to clue the audience in for those of
Yes.
you who do not know.
Yep.
Yes, the origin of the term moral injury stemmed out of the Veterans Association with the military. Um, and I want to talk about that. Let's define this for our audience. What
Mhm.
is moral injury? And then piggybacking on that, how does that differ from burnout?
Mm. Yeah. Well, in my personal, minute opinion, moral injury, when you put it in in the context of veterans, as you mentioned, uh, it comes from individuals who have served in the military, active duty military, when they were deployed or sent somewhere, that they were given orders, and the orders instructed them to engage in behavior that was completely contrary
Mhm,
to their morals and values.
mhm.
So when we get these individuals who have to go into combat and now they're killing women and children, blowing up school buildings, things like that, or watching their fellow military individuals engage in certain interrogation techniques
Mhm.
that they don't, that it just completely is just askew,
Yeah,
uh, and completely diverse, diametrically opposed
yeah.
to their true internal moral compass.
And that has to be
So,
difficult, right? Because my father, was a veteran, my sister is
mhm,
a veteran,
mhm,
yourself, and I am, um my ex-husband is a veteran,
mhm,
and, you hear stories, whatever it is that you can hear, and then you gather data and historical information over time, and I've worked with veterans in private practice and such. And there seems to be a bumping of heads, right? Like you said,
yes,
there's not a values alignment between
yes,
what is requested and directed of you and how you might where your internal compass is.
mhm,
So I look at this, if I sort of zoom out for a little bit, that has to be a very difficult position for veterans, right? You are in a position where you are getting orders from your superiors who are getting informed probably by their superiors, who are
mhm,
probably informed by the state of what is going on in the United
mhm,
States or across the world.
mhm,
And if I was to place myself in that position, I may have a hard time, even with the values I say I have and try to live out, when I'm thinking about what's best for the country, what's best for my children, what's best for my friends. Even if I don't feel good about it, I may do it for the
mm,
betterment of all. And I might be misinformed, so let's talk a little bit about your experience and just, being in the service and maybe where you
sure,
might have experienced that. And if I'm completely off kilter, I'm just a person, I am a civilian, but I can only imagine from a veteran's perspective. I mean, I have quotes for days, experience for days as a
yeah,
healthcare professional,
mhm,
but that is such an interesting position to be in when at the end of the day it's not about you, right? It's not just about you, but it's
mhm,
not about you because as a service man or woman or person, there's a lot at stake.
absolutely, and you are so spot on
Mm,
that I want to even go down the rabbit hole deep. I want to drill down even further because I don't want your audience, I don't want you to gloss over this for your audience because you've just touched on something so profound.
mm,
that it needs to be fleshed out even more so
Mhm.
that people who are listening to this will be like, wow. So
Mhm.
we go back to what you said about being in the military.
Mhm.
Now, I want to add, because we're going to talk about, there are cultural pieces to this and gender pieces. So
Mhm.
I want to take the scenario, the innocuous scenario that people may think that you just gave, which is not.
Mhm.
Now, just imagine right now,
Mhm.
our active military personnel.
Mm.
Now let's go ahead and break that down to an even greater microcosm. Instead of the macrocosm, the macro being everybody in the military. When
Right.
we start getting into the micro and meso levels, we're
Mhm.
talking about specific groups. So now let's talk about active military of color.
Mhm.
Uh, Now here you're having this individual, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that have put us in a situation. And I often, the first thing I told my sons was, if I was still in active duty right now,
Mhm.
I don't know how I would respond. You said you follow orders even if you don't agree with them. And that is so very true. But to hear
Yeah.
an individual demonize, pathologize people of color,
Mhm.
women, and other groups who we know are in active military,
Yeah.
how do you in return serve your country to your best ability? So when you talk about, to
Mhm.
explain the difference between moral injury and burnout, the moral injury, and I want to make this as salient and poignant as possible. You can have a moral injury even as a veteran
Mhm.
of color.
Mhm.
But when you start hearing this degrading,
Yeah.
the destruction, the eradication of your history by individuals, your ancestors, and maybe even relatives, grandparents, and great grandparents who have come here and put in that work.
Yeah.
Now you're burnt out. Now
Mhm.
you wake up every day hating you're in the military,
Mm.
waiting to discharge and get out. So I'm so glad that you point that out because that struggle is real. People will not articulate it and verbalize it in public. So,
Mhm.
and that is the key of more. That is one of the keys of more. So we will suffer in silence.
Mm. Mm. Oh, man. I had a whole script, and now I'm like, "Well, I wanna dive into that." That's suffering in silence.
Yeah.
Um, I can only speak I've introduced myself on the show as I'm a Black and Filipino woman, proudly,
Hmm.
and my existence has not been without discrimination, without prejudice, without commentary.
Hmm.
My education has not been without commentary.
Sure.
I can I can and I cannot imagine some of the scenarios as an active duty,
Mm,
person or a veteran who has seen some
mm,
things, experienced some things. I know as just a woman, if we don't look at the intersectionality between race and gender
mhm,
for a second, just as a woman,
mhm.
the fight that I'm already contending with
Right. Absolutely.
against other women, well, intentionally, unintentionally, and with
Hmm.
my male counterparts.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you sort of peel those, or you peel those layers back, or you drill deeper, as you said, y- you just want to show up and be of service to your country. You show up to be of service to your country, and it's a sort of damnation that
Absolutely.
either you're not qualified enough or you don't look like certain people,
Absolutely.
even with the same qualifications on paper. In essence, what I hear is you're not good enough to serve. And that just doesn't sit well. That
Mm.
doesn't feel good at all.
No, it doesn't. No, it does not. And you're again, you are so spot on when you constantly are undermined. And just again, in my opinion, the Marine Corps was the most racist branch of the military, in my personal opinion. We didn't integrate till 72.
Mhm.
Uh, and I remember, I'll share just a quick uh, narrative with you. Myself and a young man, it was PFC Bell, I'll never forget his name. We were in Panama at the time, and we were staying in Quonset huts, and boy, it was hot. So we walked into the HQ Quonset hut, and they had the air on, and it was Arctic cold.
Stark difference.
It was Arctic cold. I love it cold. I don't mind. But most of we tend to be tropical.
No.
So so I'll never forget. Marine Bear went over to cut it down, and this first sergeant, I think his name was First Sergeant Cash, said, "If you don't get your black paws off that air conditioner," and I'm like, "Wow, what did he just?" That was one. And then another time I was, they were doing, it was the anniversary. Another fellow Marine who happened to be black, had a Jet magazine. It was the anniversary of the killing of murder of Emmett Till,
Emmett.
and we were discussing it, and there were two uh, white officers there. One of the officers, was the officer of my unit, and he was telling the story about it. Uh, and then one of the other white officers responded. He said, "Well, that's what he gets for whistling at a white woman." And again, you can't believe, well, you can, but there's no reservation, no hesitation. And so my lieutenant said, "What you think about that, Scott?" And I just particularly said, I said, whoever's that ignorant uh, to make a comment like that, I really don't have anything to say. So, but going back to your point about them being the blatant audacity of, at the time, I think my rank was a PFC or something like that, to tell two lieutenants to speak that way to two lieutenants.
Mhm.
Because again, when we talk about moral injury, but when we get into that, the military is a place where you go to preserve everybody's rights but your own. Is predicated on a caste system.
Mhm.
It's predicated on almost a very everybody's the same. You're the same rank, the same. So the higher in rank you go, obviously, then the more leverage you have. So you don't have any rights. You can't speak up. You forfeit. I tell people this all the time. When you go to the military, you forfeit all of your constitutional rights, literally,
Well, they say,
to provide them for other people.
what is the saying? You in essence, sign a blank check.
Well, it's a different acronym we use in the military.
Right.
So, but in the Marine Corps, yeah. Yeah. You sign that MF contract. Yes, indeed. That's exactly, and that's exactly, and
Oh,
that's exactly what you did. So,
boy.
yeah,
Oh, my. And I put this disclaimer out there because I also wanna make sure for those of you who are veterans, for those of you who are
mhm,
actively serving, um, we absolutely, respect and honor because I honor you as a vet, Dr. Scott, my father, my
thank you,
sister,
thank you.
for the work that you do, and simultaneously, we acknowledge that there are systemic issues within the branches of service.
Absolutely,
Absolutely,
and I absolutely,
I think we see it in healthcare. I've experienced this
absolutely,
in healthcare. I've experienced this
yeah,
in education. Being a single Black mother, I
yeah,
experience how the world looks at me and the expectations of me,
hmm,
in this space. And I'm constantly kind of scratching my head. I don't know where to go. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, so there's several blank checks, several MF and contracts that I think were
Absolutely,
signed right across
absolutely.
the
Hey,
board. Um,
absolutely, and but you make a great point. There's no way without ever disparage our active military. In fact,
yeah,
I do a lot of crisis intervention training for law enforcement. Just
yeah,
did one last week, and it was a large class, and I had a large contingency of veterans.
yeah,
And one of the first things I make it a point to do is ask who in this room is a veteran,
yeah,
and then I tell them, other than our active military service members, law enforcement officers, have the most dangerous job on the planet day in and day
Yes,
out,
yes,
bar none. So I would never take anything from
yeah,
our servicemen and women who literally put their lives on the line every day, which further perpetuates
mhm,
this conversation because now I have to go into this knowing I signed that contract, but yet my voice is taken away, like you said,
yep.
in your beautiful, eloquent soliloquy to the show. So,
I appreciate that because I mean, it's what I want the audience to know is it's not either or, it's both and,
no,
right? It is
absolutely,
absolutely both and. It's we are hurting and we are trying to heal, and
absolutely.
this is that space. This is that space I wanna create, and so I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for this opportunity. Um, which sorta leads me to, why do so many people struggle? So if we talk about how moral injury is, is
Hmm.
this misaligned values, the execution of values that may not be your own, or let's say we've defined a value, but we're going off into two different
Hmm.
directions about that
Hmm.
same value. Why do so many people struggle to recognize moral injury in themselves? And especially people of color. Why do you think?
Well, again, you're introducing that cultural piece, and I think it is very significant and apropos.
Mhm,
Uh, for number one, there is such a disconnect or there's such non-congruency
mhm,
with that moral compass because society is telling us we can do this or it's okay to do this. So there's no conforming. So now we have to either amend that, adjust that, delete it,
mhm,
or to your point, abandon and compromise it.
mhm,
So, and for that moral injury for people of color, where I believe the struggle comes in, or where it is, where the bottleneck comes in, and where it's most uncomfortable and difficult. Well, first of all, we've used it as a coping mechanism.
mhm,
So, and what do I mean by that? I mean that let me give you an example
mhm,
of a moral injury. I want to have a job, and again, I'm not uh, in any way advocating criminogenic behavior, but let's say I got to get my bag either way it goes.
mhm,
All right.
mhm.
So let me just use a real. So this is what really blows my mind. So we live in an industrialized nation with the highest use of illegal drug use in the world, the
Right.
United States of America. That is a fact.
Yes.
Okay. So then we flood urban, major urban metropolises with the crack cocaine epidemic, the heroin epidemic coming back from Vietnam, and we put individuals in a position. Okay, well, this is how I'm getting my money.
Mhm.
So then we put them in a position where we don't want to hire them. We're not going to hire them. Give them poor education. So they say they're on the block, getting their bag. They get caught, and then we give them football numbers.
Yep.
Well, I'm specifically talking to the crack cocaine
Yeah.
epidemic.
Yes. Yeah.
Yet I know for a fact that the war on drugs there, that whole program was a farce. It
I
was a lie from the
I
depths of hell.
yeah,
Go
many
Google it.
remember that.
Go Google it.
Oh.
That was the greatest. I'm trying to be that was some straight bullshit. They sold us a dream. I'm talking about it was straight smoke screens and mirrors. They wanted the world to perceive we're fighting this big war on drugs. It was a lie from the depths of hell.
Mhm,
Period. It was never set up to work.
mhm,
It was never intended to solve anything.
mhm,
Google it. Do your history. There was a report that came out by Pew Study a few years ago said it was one of the worst spending and squandering of federal monies
mhm,
in recent history.
mhm,
So I say all that to say this, going back to your point about the moral, as far as it being a coping mechanism for us culturally. Uh, Sometimes we struggle. Let me tell you about first. Of all, let's just expand the bandwidth of moral injury. Let's say you're a parent, and you have a child that just ain't acting right.
mhm.
You're going to ask yourself, what did you do as a
That's
parent,
yes.
part of a moral injury? If you end up having a bad relationship that you end up one of the spouse leaves the other spouse.
What did I do?
What did I do?
Why did he leave, they leave? Why did she leave?
I mean, all that. One was that, if infidelity was involved, I'm inadequate. What makes me do? So then when you have, so with moral injury, when you have those type of situations, can manifest itself
Mhm,
with an individual man who grew up in a loving household, now has morphed, if you would, into an individual because he has been hurt
mhm,
by a female. Now he's distrusting, physical, verbally, emotional,
mhm,
emotionally, financially abusive,
mhm.
and he knows that's not who he is.
Or who he wants to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But for me to have some type of control over something
Mhm,
and to ease this pain that I've been dealing with, and perhaps maybe, and it may even come back, but I call those mother woundedness issues,
mhm,
attachment issues,
mhm, mhm, mhm,
because we have a lot of that. Uh, we have a lot of virtually every issue we're dealing with in adulthood. We literally, to your point,
mhm.
brought with us from childhood. That's why ACE scores are so
Oh,
important.
yes.
Understanding, uh,
Yeah.
understanding how trauma shows up.
Yeah.
Dr. Bessel van der Kolk says that
Yes.
trauma doesn't come back as a memory; it comes back in behavior. So when we understand why we're behaving the way that we do, it is so it is so informative. And I just did a training a couple of weeks ago. A young lady said, "All behavior is communication," and I had
It
to
is
steal that from her
communication. Yes.
because she is. I said, "You are." I said, "I'm gonna tell you." Her name was Anna. I said, "Anna, girl, I'm stealing that because you are so 1,000%
Mhm.
right. All behavior is communication."
And, I say that in my practice, an offshoot of that, I say, all behavior is data,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely,
So what
absolutely.
people are, with verbal communication, that's such a small
Yeah,
percentage of
yeah,
communication.
absolutely.
Body language, how
Yeah.
people show up, those things are really informative. It's just a matter of whether or not we choose to listen.
Mhm.
My favorite quote uh, is from, Maya Angelou. When someone shows you who they are, believe them.
What?
And I will
Believe
tell
them.
you personally, I will put myself out there. I struggled with the believing part because of
Mhm.
what we're talking about. This idea that I, if I follow the rules, if I show up the way that society wants, even though the target just keeps moving,
Mhm, mhm,
right?
absolutely,
Day they want
absolutely,
me this
absolutely.
way, another day they want me
Yeah,
this way. I'm not
yeah,
feminine
exactly,
enough. I'm not this enough. I'm not black enough. I'm not
absolutely. Ain't no question. And
enough.
the goalpost is always they move the goalpost
Always
all over
moving.
the field.
And the thing is, I can't. Am I a liar then, right? If I say, "Oh, well, I value being genuine." But the truth of the matter is what genuine means from day
Mm,
to day
exactly.
shifts because I also gotta get that paper. I also gotta
Ain't no
make sure
question.
I'm feeding my babies. I gotta make sure that I
Absolutely.
have this job. So I have to show up in a way that may not align with the way that I interpret and live out my values elsewhere. And that is painful.
Yes, it is.
That is right? So it's, I joke about these gas prices, but I'm not joking anymore, right? But the expectation of being a Black female, being a Black single female,
Mhm,
um, and what that means for showing up for my kids, what
mhm.
parenting looks like. Oh, well, you can't move to the hood. First of all, I've gotten you wouldn't survive. I'm like,
Yeah,
for all
yeah.
of you out there, I lived on the east side of Detroit. I grew up, well, I was born in Michigan, raised in New Jersey. We got some of that mentality. And at the same time,
Mhm,
the spaces where I was elevated to, I had to think differently. I had to be a
yeah.
chameleon. I had to work those spaces and navigate
Mhm,
differently. And that is exhausting. That's so exhausting, and so I think what you're talking about and when I mentioned compromise and abandonment, um,
mhm.
I think for many of us, part of the reason why we can't recognize moral injuries because we can't recognize ourselves anymore. Um,
Absolutely.
and for you and I who are very educated, formally educated, as well as
Mhm.
educated, in the world, it does something.
Absolutely.
It, and I think that it's very esoteric, right? There's
Yeah.
something about when we get to
Mhm.
these spaces, there is a there's a language unspoken,
Absolutely.
and we can't
Absolutely.
necessarily bring that back to our communities always, or the ways in which
Mm.
we have to bring it back has to be palatable, because we can't get our black cards revoked, and then at the
That's that
same
right.
time, we can't
Exactly.
we can't show up and present it at the door at, like,
Mhm.
predominantly white institutions.
Right. No, you make it, you know, what you just said, I am literally trying to really contain myself because, uh, they
I
say,
know there's
we
so
know,
much, I'm like,
yeah, I'm listen, because, my Bible tells me, with much wisdom comes much sorrow, with much knowledge comes much grief.
Mhm.
And when you talk about what you just talked about, showing up in that space, the fact that you can't be your true authenticated self because you code switching is real.
Yes, it is.
And the more letters we acquire, the more pieces of papers that you and I acquire,
Mhm,
now uh, it is imperative
mhm,
uh, that we do this. Now, what's the moral injury? The moral injury for me looks like this.
mhm.
I show up in the space, to your point. We know that we're qualified. We know we deserve a seat at the table. And then you get some off the cuff reason why, or you don't get the second interview, even if you get the first interview. And I literally had to write people back. I mean, I thank you, for letting me know that I get the job. But I just, for my own personal edification, could you just tell me where I fell
Ah,
short at?
yeah,
Tell me where I fell short. Tell me where I was missing. Tell me what I was lacking.
right.
Because I know for a fact, just like you, I
I burnt
put
it.
in the work.
Yep.
I put in the work to be an expert at what I do. And I know there's very few, not saying I'm the most, that I'm that. I'm not saying that I'm the best, but what I am saying, I can carry my own brick.
Mhm,
That's exactly what I'm saying. And I
mhm,
know that no matter who you put in front of me, across from me, I guarantee you,
mhm.
I got just as many 16 bars as they got.
Yep.
I can drop, I can drop a hot 16 with a hook just like they can. So it gets to be frustrating. So we talk about moral injury, success
Oh, what is
can
that?
be can be one of the most
Daunting?
counterintuitive.
Yes, and in some ways, I hate to say, counterproductive. I
Absolutely. And
yeah,
listen,
just
I see you about to go where I was going.
like,
We just
ugh,
we just read The Miseducation of the Negro
yes,
on my fraternity's book club.
one of
And
my favorite books.
the irony of that is truly is the education of the Negro, the
Yes.
miseducation of the Negro.
Yes.
That was the whole banter between Du Bois and Booker T.
Mhm.
One was promulgating academics, the other was promulgating what appeared to be more of a skilled labor. And now, what is in great demand across the country? Skilled
Skilled
labor.
labor. Yeah, yeah. It is it's it's painful, and
It is
because I
painful.
lack the verbiage, I mean, there are many things
Yes,
I want to say.
I know. Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. And
yeah, and, I'm not in the I not even blame placing, 'cause I'm
right.
always in a place of self-reflection.
So
'Cause
am
you're
I.
right, we ask ourselves in relationships, in
Hmm.
jobs, in positions, in education, "Where did I go wrong? What did I do?" Because we were I don't even wanna say taught. I think to be taught means that there is an educational piece, that
Yeah.
there was a buy-in. We were
Hmm.
directed, we were enslaved, we were threatened
Hmm.
into a sort of submission that I think looks, in many ways, very nuanced now. I notice I have to check myself, right? So I can come
Hmm.
off. Anybody that knows me knows I Like, I can go there. I'm a straight shooter.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
will absolutely tell you what is on my mind, and then I have to be mindful of my
Yeah,
environment and who I'm talking to,
absolutely.
and that's hard because our vernacular can be different.
Yes.
How we were taught to engage is different. I even noticed, um, just the term advocacy.
Mhm.
Advocacy looks very different across the board depending on who you are, your walk of life, and I'm talking about black, white, yellow, orange,
Absolutely,
man,
absolutely,
woman, LGBT
absolutely.
plus, right?
All that, the whole all
All of
that.
it. And at the same time, the way that I promote advocacy may not look like yours or may not look like, a counterpart from a different race or ethnic background, religious creed, what have you.
Mhm.
And I have to remind myself that that isn't a bad thing.
Right.
What what I think may be one of the issues with moral injury is, yes, we experience this lack of values alignment, but it calls for a veiled conformity
Mhm.
that makes it very hard to recognize. Because it's like, if you go off on somebody
Mhm.
because they disrespected you and,
Absolutely,
and your space and your rights,
absolutely.
just because you went off on them, and I mean, violence is violence. Let's not go there, right?
Yep,
But if
yep,
you
yep.
if you got a little louder, if you
Right.
said some things, you said it with your chest, right? Um,
Absolutely.
how is that an inappropriate form of advocacy? Now, once again, mind your environment. An
Mhm.
inappropriate form of advocacy. No, what it is you just got uncomfortable and you didn't like
Absolutely,
how I was advocating
absolutely,
from a cultural perspective. That
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely,
I'm.
absolutely.
Whew,
I mean, if you play the music, you can't tell me how to dance to it. I mean,
oh,
it's just that simple. And you again, I don't want to minimize the point that you're making. You're
mhm.
absolutely correct. And because, ooh, I'm about to piss some people off. We know, as we culturally, black people,
Mhm.
we have such a subservient mindset. We were indoctrinated with that subservient mindset because we were, the manner in which we were, where we came from.
Yeah, yeah,
So even for us,
yeah.
the first thing we'll say, that's ghetto. Now, what do we mean by that? So when you talk about the moral injury piece from a macro level cultural aspect, we have to ask ourselves as a culture, when did we start failing as parents,
Mm,
fathers,
mothers,
mothers, husbands,
wives.
pastors,
Mhm,
because we have compromised
mhm,
a great deal
mhm,
in the Black culture itself,
mhm, mhm.
which is why it is so difficult for those of us who are wealthy. And don't ever think there ain't no Black wealth
Oh, there's
in our
absolute
culture.
black wealth.
We it
Woo!
does we trust and believe that if we were to ever put that together, what would that look like? Because I'm trying to tell you, let professional athletes get together one day and say we ain't going to work, and white America would lose their ever loving mind.
Mhm,
The
mhm,
stock market would crash. There's so many things that we could do collectively. And so let me get back. So to your point, so that's when we talk about moral injury from a broader bandwidth perspective as it pertains to Black America, we have to really ask ourselves, where did this compromise and abandonment occur?
mhm.
When did we start having kids beat parents and kill parents? When did that happen?
Right.
When did we start going outside in pajama pants and hair bonnets,
Mhm.
jiggling all over the place, coming to school, beating up our kids' teachers.
Mhm.
When did we start filming one another being violent? When did this start take place? Until we understand that everything evolves.
Mhm.
And if you go back to the banks of the St. James River around 1786 and read that Willie Lynch letter, you will see that this is just a manifestation
Yes.
that has perpetuated itself back, and now it has really ensconced itself in our community.
So
So the moral injury, to your point,
yeah,
is we can like I said, you can go at the macro, micro, and meso levels
meso levels, yeah.
of moral injury when it comes to the not just to individuals,
Yeah.
but to our culture as a collective whole.
Yeah.
And I know that's a lot. I know that
No, you
I
know
know
what? I
that's
mean,
I
this is
know that's a lot.
and this is a heavy conversation, and it needs to be had. It needs to be had. We need to have this conversation, and um, it took me a long time to get here.
Mhm.
We
Me
hear
too.
right, like a long
Absolutely.
time to get here, and and I am so honored to be in your presence,
Yeah.
to have this conversation,
Oh,
and
stop it.
we're gonna have to keep talking because oh man,
I
we've got things to do. Okay, we
we
got
do.
things to do. I'm
We
like
do. We absolutely do. We absolutely do. And,
I had all these
and
questions that I wanna, like
yeah.
but I have a big one for you.
Okay.
I'm just like,
Sure.
forget the rest of these. We talk about trauma. We could talk about
Yeah.
capital T trauma. We could talk
Oh,
about
yeah. Right. Right. Right.
talk about but
Exactly.
my question is, I sit in this space and I'm like, "Ooh, I also know I'm part of the problem." Like, we have to
Mm,
also acknowledge that we all
absolutely.
are a part of the
Yeah.
problem. I'm part of the problem when, unfortunately, even if I don't know I'm complicit,
Hmm.
I'm not I don't always get the chance or the
Yeah.
opportunity to help my people in the way that I
Yep.
like, right?
Yep.
I'm part of the problem.
Right.
I'm gonna throw myself out there. But my question to you, how we fix it? How what do I do? What do we do? How can we start? Is there hope?
Oh, of course. Of course, there's hope, but you make a great point. Ignorance does not absolve.
Ugh,
Okay.
ugh,
Okay. But when you talk about how do we fix it, we're part of the problem, that is the multi-million dollar question. And I think that for me, I had to really ask myself, uh, who can I help?
mhm,
Who can I help? Because you talked about the level of advocacy. Uh, but I think want to believe that one of the things that keeps me grounded and humble is the fact that every individual that I meet that may be temporarily less fortunate than me in whatever capacity, I still used to be that same individual. So I pray that I never lose sight of helping individuals who I know need that help. And I'm talking about those transition from being justice involved
mhm.
because they don't know. I'm writing a curriculum right now because black men coming home from the penitentiary do not know,
No,
but the majority of them do not know how to transition successfully
mm-mm,
as men, fathers, lovers, husbands. They don't know how to navigate that space,
yeah.
and it is very challenging.
Yes,
Very challenging.
yes,
Uh, uh, which is why another thing that we have to address, and it's not just not pervasive in black men,
mhm,
but domestic violence and intimate partner violence.
yes.
These are
Across
things
the
that
board.
the, these are things that we have to address
Yes,
because trust me, I have been around those individuals who have some very distorted and twisted misogynist views when it comes to women.
yes. And that goes across the color lines.
Absolutely. That's what I said. It's just not. It is just not pervasive to black men at
Yeah.
all.
I
Absolutely not.
love this, and I wanna speak to this from a clinical perspective. I have worked with
Yes.
individuals who, are victims of, and I struggle with the term victims because I
Hmm.
want to empower individuals to be agents of change for their narrative, right? So this thing
Absolutely.
happened to you, you are not responsible for that
Right.
thing that
Absolutely.
happened. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
I call it, for anyone that has interacted with me, my very close friends, I call it the rear end effect.
Mm.
You know how you get in your car, if someone rear ends you, they're at fault. You still gotta deal with it.
Right.
And so people are like, "Oh, it's fine if you get rear-ended, they'll have to pay you for it." I still got a messed up car. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
what is that? So I really try to empower individuals across like the behavioral spectrum to, you are not broken, you are not
Right.
this, you're not right. So that we do a lot of that change talk and that narrative.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. Catch a check and change it. Exactly.
right. At the same time, I would be remiss if I did not mention that interpersonal violence also means that we are talking about emotional violence.
Absolutely.
We are talking
Absolutely.
about verbal
Absolutely.
escalation, because even if someone's not hitting on you, and I will tell you, as a person who has experienced this, um,
Hmm.
the detrimental effects of someone just continually breaking you down
Yep.
and hurting you in that way, um, those are invisible scars.
Absolutely.
Those are invisible scars, and we need to have conversations with our communities about how to talk to one another,
Hmm.
how to how do we manifest respect and preserving the dignity of our our men, our women, our children. What are we teaching our children?
Mm. Absolutely.
You know, it's
Again,
yeah.
no, it goes back to exactly what I'm saying. So, although we know we can point to the ancillary outliers that
Mhm.
are contributory and maybe even causal and
Right,
correlative in nature, we get that.
right.
But at the end of the day, I had to take ownership of
Mm,
not only my healing,
mhm.
but of my transformation.
So that's the key, it sounds like. You know,
It is the key.
yeah, before we
But here,
go onto anything else, before we can even look at who we can help, hey, we gotta get right with ourselves. We gotta get right with God. We gotta get right internally. Gotta
absolutely.
put our mask on before we put anyone else's mask on.
I didn't even. I had wrote because I'm keeping copious notes as you talking, so I could keep up with you. And I had wrote down imposter syndrome.
Woo!
Moral injury is in juxtaposition with imposter syndrome.
Mhm, mhm.
And we didn't even. I mean, we can't.
That's a
That
whole,
is
you
that
know,
that.
we're
Yeah,
gonna have
that's.
to
I
come
mean, that's
back. We're gonna have to
it
do
is.
a whole, like, 5-part series here, but that's
Seriously.
hard.
It, I mean, because they go hand in glove.
Yes.
They go hand in glove.
Mhm. Eh, you know, and I read something that was like, it is not you are not, um, experiencing, or you do not have imposter syndrome. You are experiencing people's perceptions of you being an imposter.
Mm.
And I don't know what that did to me. I kinda glitched. What? Um,
Yeah,
but that's the other piece, you know, until I actually feel solid, until we actually feel solid in who we
hmm,
are and what we
absolutely.
bring to the table,
Uh,
and to know that we have, look, this whole idea of having a seat at the table, the table might be crowded and it might be a fold up chair. Scoot, scoot on up, right?
exactly.
Make your presence known. Um, I had to do a lot of soul searching on a
Hmm.
personal and professional level.
Yeah,
Yes, I do belong in these spaces,
and no question.
right? I might not
Absolutely.
look or smell or dress
Right.
like anyone else in this circle, but yes, I do belong here. Yes, I am qualified. And no, I do not have to continue to prove my worth and who I am by the number of stacks that I have.
Absolute, absolutely, absolute. And that's funny because Richard Pryor told a joke and he was like, I I know what I said. I'm the symptom. Tell me what I got. So my thing is, when I laugh at people in our spaces, you and uh, and I chuckle. I have to chuckle because I'm like, you know, even despite my flaws, because we're all beautifully flawed, but despite uh, my journey that got me here, because the journey is just as important as the destination. For you to even think that I'm not as qualified as you is a joke because what you're studying, I am the personification of that. I'm the epitome of that
Yeah.
in lived experience and in academia. So not only am I qualified, actually, I can teach you some things because you are talking about something you have no experience in. So when we turn, when man work for harm, God make for good. When we understand the value of even in our brokenness, and when I'm talking about the value of it, I'm talking about the bag.
Mhm,
When you can change your brokenness,
mhm.
what society has told you your worthlessness is that when you can transform that into now they're coming to ask you,
Yeah.
in my case, to come and I get calls from across the country to invite me to come speak here, to speak on this,
See,
to
I'm
do
lucky
this.
that once again, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here
Stop
because
it, stop it, stop it, stop it.
I'm so serious because we these conversations need to be had, and, um, I would say I used to have conversations like this with my father all the time when he was
Mhm.
alive,
Yeah.
and what I hear now or what I don't hear now, uh is talk about the pervasiveness of this. Like there's
Mhm.
still we have come a long way and we have a
Mhm.
long way to go.
Absolutely.
And I think that is an injury within itself. That is
Yeah.
morally injurious within itself. I want to definitely welcome you back. We're gonna have to have, like I said, this doesn't have to be a 5-part series because there's too much. But
I will. You have an open standing invitation for me anytime I could be at service for you, Dr.
I
Maxell.
love this.
I would love to be here. In all seriousness, I choose number one. Uh, it is so refreshing to see a strong, thorough, gorgeous Black woman handling her business
Thank you. Thank you.
and unapologetic about it. Because until we get there,
Mhm.
uh,
We ain't there.
we ain't.
We
That's I
ain't,
mean that's the bottom. We ain't. You know
we
what I'm
ain't
saying?
until we get
We
there,
ain't
we ain't there. Yep.
until you ain't. You have just
Mhm.
it's just that simple. It's
Right.
just that simple. Period.
Right. Well, before we wrap up, I want to take the opportunity to give you the space if you want to share anything with our audience about if um, they can reach out to you or speaking engagements, where you're going to go next, uh, books written, things like that. I want to give you that platform because what I want to do is I want to continue to build us up, which also means we got to put ourselves out there. And so, anything you want to share with this audience. And I'll also make sure this will be in the show notes for everybody
Mm.
as well. Um, please take it away.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And
Absolutely.
and dittos. Absolutely. If please, you can go to my I'm not a social media guy. I got some individuals that are getting me together. My youngest son was like, Dad, you playing games. So you can go to my web you can go to my website, www.thecrisispeer, TheCrisisPeer.com. And you can also email me at thecrisispeer, the same address, at gmail.com for any speaking engagements or collaboratives, podcasts, or whatever. Please feel to reach out to me. You can schedule appointments through that platform as well. And I promise to get my Twitter game up and my
Oh boy,
Instagram
it's a lot
game up.
for you.
Yeah, so uh, but again, I just want to again thank you and your audience just for this space. I think it's imperative. One of the things that I tell people to give anything validity
Mhm.
and leverage, I think it's imperative for individuals to see people who are products of the process.
Yes.
And I'm here to tell you, for all of you who are listening, I'm trying to tell you, when I tell you I started out on my knuckles with nothing, I just had a very loving and supportive family, uh, belonged to a great fraternity. Uh, my LBs would turn it back on me, but I'm trying to tell you, God ain't never out of blessings,
Mhm.
and He is no respecter of persons.
No.
So you ain't never got to validate your work to nobody
Yes.
but yourself.
Yes.
And your healing is for you. You're not healing for your kids, your mama, your daddy. Your healing takes place for you.
For
Now,
you.
others may benefit from it,
Mhm.
but you have to heal for yourself.
Where you also gotta use discernment.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yep. I'm telling you,
Absolutely.
more to come, folks. More to
Well,
come. The
looking
amazing,
forward to it.
wonderful, um, just, I'm just so blessed. Dr. Kevin Scott Sr., everybody. If today's conversation resonated with you, I hope it reminds you survival is not the same thing as living. There are parts of you
Absolutely.
that were silenced, hidden, minimized, or compromised in order to survive. And those things are still worthy of being reclaimed. Healing begins
Absolutely.
when we stop apologizing for our existence and start honoring our truth. Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Whew. I got one real
Go
quick.
right ahead.
You're gonna love this, and you can take it. You can. I'm glad you know you can steal this. For those who listen, based on what the Dr. Maxwell, what you just said, you owe your future
Mm.
more of an opportunity than you owe your past an apology.
Woo, okay. Yes, you owe your future more of an opportunity than you owe your past.
An
If I had
apology.
a mic, I would
Absolutely. Yeah.
drop it. Just drop it. Just drop it. Remember that. Remember your worth. Until
Absolutely.
next time, stay rooted in who you are and keep rising into who you're becoming.